Now releasing all goblins.
Hey gang! Using the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, will get you 10% off any order over $10 at Flipside Gaming. It'll also get you 10% off any orders of singles at Multizone. And it'll get you 10% off most products at Original Magic Art, with the exceptions of some paintings. If these fine sites don't have what you're looking for, you can also consider using my affiliate link when ordering from TCG Player. And if you'd like to join the generic Goblin Gang to support this channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is a Jersey Boy special, filmed by the fan favorite, Trevor. We've got Mike bringing back his Evra deck, keeping Path to Exile, Gilded Lotus, Stoneforge Mystic, Knight of the White Orchid, New Benalia, and a Plains. Trevor is also on that mono-white plan, playing Elesh Norn, keeping Rootborn Defenses, Devout Invocation, Finale of Glory, Howling Mine, Soul Ring, and 2 Plains. Harry is back with Sydri, keeping an Arcane Denial, Nile Spellbomb, Trophy Mage, Baleful Strix, Vidalcan Archmage, Caves of Koilos, and Irrigated Farmland. Ryan is playing his Bladewing deck, keeping an Unclaimed Territory, 3 Mountains, Rakdos Signet, Through the Breach, and Shenanigans. Ryan wins the die roll and starts us off. Ryan plays an Unclaimed Territory, naming dragons as it enters. Trevor plays a Plains and casts Soul Ring. He taps a Soul Ring for a Howling Mine to help get some of the hate off of him for a turn 1 Soul Ring. Mike draws 2 and plays a tap New Benalia. He scries 1, keeping it there, and passes, discarding down to 7. Harry draws 2 and plays an Irrigated Farmland and passes, discarding. Ryan draws 2 and plays a Snow-Covered Mountain, paying 2 mana for Shenanigans. He uses it to blow up Trevor's Soul Ring and passes. Trevor plays a tap Windbrisk Heights, hiding away a card as he passes to Mike. Mike draws his 2 and plays a Plains. He casts Swiftfoot Boots and passes. Harry draws 2, playing a Cave of Koilos, and casts a Nile Spellbomb. He then loses 1 life to make a black mana with the caves and activates a Spellbomb, paying the triggered ability. This lets Harry exile Ryan's Yard and draw him a card. He then passes, discarding down to 7. Ryan draws his 2 and plays a tapped Desert of the Glorified. He then pays 2 mana for a Rakdos Signet before passing. Trevor draws his cards and plays a Plains. He also passes. Mike draws and casts a Knight of the White Orchid, targeting Trevor as it enters, which lets him go and find another Plains card for the field. He then plays another Plains from his hand and goes back to search his library as a Stoneforge Mystic hits the field. He passes as he searches. Harry draws and plays Adakar Wastes, and then a Commander Sphere. He taps the sphere to cast Scrabbling Claws and passes. Ryan draws his card and plays a Mountain as Mike reveals a Prowler's Helm for the Mystic Tutor. Ryan then passes, discarding down to 7. Trevor draws and plays a Land Tax while Ryan discards a World Gorger Dragon. Trevor then casts a Mind Stone, and with the artifact on the stack, Harry taps a Scrabbling Claws to exile a card from Ryan's graveyard. Trevor then plays a Seagate Wreckage and passes to Mike. Mike draws his 2 and plays a Plains, and then a Soul Ring of his own. He then casts a Gilded Lotus and uses it to cast the Prowler's Helm. He then moves the boots onto his Mystic and swings her at Ryan. Ryan responds before damage, cycling a Smoldering Crater and drawing a card, and then takes the 1. Harry draws and casts Mishra's Bauble, and then a Baleful Strix. He draws as it enters. He then sacrifices the Bauble to look at Ryan's top card, and puts a delayed draw trigger into existence. Harry then taps the Claws to make Mike exile a card from his graveyard, and then activates it paying the 1 to exile Trevor's Soul Ring and draws a card as it goes. He then pays 1 life to the black mana with Caves of Koilos, and he casts an Executioner's Capsule, and passes. On Ryan's upkeep, Harry draws 1, and then Ryan draws 2 before moving to his main phase. He plays a Mountain, and pays to cast a Plaguecrafter. Everyone but Trevor sacrifices a creature since Trevor doesn't have any, and instead Trevor discards a card, and Ryan then passes. Trevor gets his land tax trigger on his upkeep, finding 3 plains. He then draws 2 cards for turn. He plays a plains and casts Finale of Glory, where X is 4. This gives him 4 2/2 white soldier tokens with vigilance as it resolves. He then moves to discard, pitching a plains as he goes to find the appropriate tokens. Mike draws his cards and plays a plains. He pays 6 mana for the Immortal Sun. This lets him tap only 1 plains to cast a reduced costing Rest in Peace, which exiles all graveyards as it enters. He then moves the Swiftfoot Boots onto his knight and passes to Harry. Harry casts an Urza's Bauble, struggling to find a land at this point. He then pays 3 mana for Trophy Mage and goes to his library. He grabs and puts to hand an Oblivion Stone, and Harry then plays out a snow-covered swamp and moves to discard. Ryan draws his 2 and plays a mountain. He drops a Thunderbreak Regent, passing. Trevor checks if he has a land tax trigger, and he does, grabbing 3 more plains for his hand. He then draws 2 cards on his draw step, and Trevor then gets to go to combat, swinging the soldier team at Harry. Harry takes the hit for 8. Trevor is then able to activate his Windbrisk Heights in his post-combat main phase, casting Gideon's Phalanx from it. This gives him 4 2/2 White Knight tokens with Vigilance, which we lump together with the soldiers because they're basically the same. Trevor then plays out a Mentor of the Meek and kicks himself for his poor sequencing. He then passes, discarding down to 7. Mike draws 3 for his turn, 1 from the Mine, 1 from the Immortal Sun, and 1 for turn. He plays a Plains and casts a Silent Arbiter to help deal with Trevor's army of tokens. Mike then swings the Knight at Harry, since it might be one of the last times he can, with Harry having put the Oblivion Stone into hand. Harry draws 2, and then pays 3 mana for an Oblivion Stone. He then passes, discarding down to 7, or rather exiling down to 7. At the end of turn, Ryan also decides to get in on some action, using Hero's Downfall to take out the Silent Arbiter. Ryan plays a tapped Desert of the Fervent and goes to combat. He swings at Mike with the Thunderbreak and connects for 4, passing to Trevor. Trevor resolves his land tax trigger, grabbing more plains for his hand. He then draws his 2 and plays a plains in his main phase. We then see Trevor resolve a Martial Coup where X is 2, and he pays the 1 from the Mentor triggers as the tokens enter to draw him a card each time. Moving to combat, Trevor then swings his team at Ryan. Before moving to damage though, Ryan cycles Decree of Pain, which all but takes out Trevor's board and draws him a card. Harry also activates his Urza's Bauble, looking at a random card from Trevor's hand and getting a delayed draw trigger. Trevor then moves to discard/exile. At the end of turn, Mike uses Generous Gift on Harry's Executioner's Capsule, and also flashes in Aven Mindcensor. Mike draws his 3 and isn't sure if he should risk it for the biscuit. He decides to go for it, casting Evra, who Harry quickly counters with an Arcane Denial. His plan to one-shot Harry with Evra now foiled, Mike simply hits Ryan for 3 with the Knight, and passes. Mike draws 2 on Harry's upkeep, and Harry draws his 2 and floats 5 mana in his mana pool before sacrificing the Commander's Sphere to draw a card. He then uses the 5 floating to activate the Oblivion Stone, destroying all the non-land permanents on the board, which also gets exiled. Harry then plays out a Godless Shrine, taking the 2 to have it come in untapped, and plays a Disciple of the Vault. Ryan plays a Sulphurous Springs as his land drop, and plays out Sneak Attack. He activates it for 1 red, putting out Lathliss, and then sneak attacks in a Boneyard Scourge. This triggers Lathliss, getting him a dragon token. He swings Lathliss at Harry and the Scourge at Trevor. Ryan then ends his turn, sacrificing the dragons. Trevor draws and plays a Plains, and then plays SRAM's Expertise. He makes 3 servo tokens and gets to put out a mirror entity without paying its cost. Trevor then plays a Skull Clamp and clamps one of the tokens. Since the servos are artifacts, this triggers Harry's Disciple, and Harry has the trigger have Ryan lose 1 life. Trevor then clamps another servo, drawing 2, and Harry once more has Ryan lose 1 life. Trevor then passes, discarding down to 7. Mike draws and casts Blind Obedience. He then plays a Mother of Ruins and extorts the spell with Blind Obedience, draining his opponents for 1 life and gaining 3. He then drops a tap Cold Steel Heart and names white as it enters. Harry draws and casts a tapped Ichor Wellspring, drawing as it enters. he plays a Terramorphic Expanse and sacrifices it to find a basic. He grabs a tapped snow-covered island and then casts Trinket Mage. He finds and puts to hand his copy of Arkham Astrolab, and he passes, and at the end of turn, Ryan terminates Mom. Ryan draws and plays a Swamp. His sneak attack is not super great with Blind Obedience out, and Ryan plays Dragon Tempest. He then plays Bladewing the Risen, and layers his triggers to resolve the Bladewing Reanimate first, and then the Tempest trigger. This lets Ryan bring back the tapped Lathless, gaining a second Dragon Tempest trigger. He resolves it, dealing 3 to Mike, and then resolves the earlier Dragon Tempest trigger, doing another 3 to Mike, and passing to Trevor. Trevor draws, and casts Increasing Devotion, making 5 tokens. He then heads to combat, hitting Mike for 2, and passes while searching for his tokens. Mike casts a Burnished Heart, extorting it and draining his opponents for 1 while gaining 3 before passing to Harry. Harry draws and untaps his precious Ichor Wellspring. He then casts a tapped Arkham Astrolab and draws. Harry then pays 5 mana for his Sphinx Summoner, which also comes in tapped, and goes to find him an artifact creature. He reveals a Scrap Trawler, putting it to hand, and Harry then moves to discard, passing. Ryan draws and casts Wild Guess, discarding Through the Breach. He then drops a tapped Kiki Jiki, which might be the saddest thing ever, and goes to combat. Bladewing goes at Harry, while Lathless heads at Trevor. They both can't block, and take 4 and 6 respectively. Ryan then passes turn. Trevor plays an Arcane Lighthouse, and goes all in at Ryan. Ryan blocks the Mirror Entity, and before leaving the blocker's step, Trevor activates Mirror Entity, putting 6 into the X, making his creatures all types and 6/6s. This takes Ryan out, and Trevor then passes. At the end of turn, Mike sacrifices the Burnished Heart, going to find 2 basics. With another artifact dying, Harry has his disciples trigger target Mike, having him lose 1 life. Mike draws and untaps, playing out a Stonehewer Giant in his main phase. He follows up with a Relic of Genitus, and then a Conqueror's Flail before passing to Harry. Harry draws, and casts what he drew, tapping 6 mana for an Austere Command. He picks both modes that hit creatures, and with the spell in the stack, Trevor flashes out Unbreakable Formation to save his creatures. Harry, realizing the error of his ways, quickly counts up how much the crackback will be, and if Trevor puts all of his mana into the entity, he realizes that both he and Mike are dead, and they agree that the game is Trevor's and scoop it up. Game review time. So who would have thought that by Harry casting a board wipe, it would have cost him and Mike the game? I certainly wasn't expecting it when Trevor sent me this game, and it was an exciting watch from start to finish. I think everyone had a pretty decent game, even Harry considering he was stuck on lands. Mike unfortunately was really close to getting off with Evra, but Harry was waiting for it, and I think part of the problem with Evra is that you're often telegraphing what you're going to do. She's very, very, very easy to one-shot with someone, but unfortunately it takes a lot to set up. It was cool of Ryan to show us a dragon deck that wasn't based around the Ur-Dragon. I love the fact that he brings a dragon back just like that, and he also pumps them too. Trevor was probably right in taking him out as early as he did, because Ryan was certainly shaping up to become the main villain. Speaking of main villains, Trevor's Elesh Norn deck actually won without Elesh Norn being on the field. Mirror Entity is a fantastic fill-in, and it's great in a token-based deck. It allows you to make your 1/1s into enormous creatures, and as we saw, that's often enough to finish out a game. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.